Welcome everyone back to Blue Collar Startup. I am your co-host Mike Nelson, joined by visionary founder of Blue Collar Startup, Derek Foster.
Hey Mike, the band is back together.
The band is back together, yes, as I was...
Episode 31?
31. I'm sad that I missed episode 30 and that I wasn't here to do the interview with Terry.
Yeah, I think I did okay. I don't know.
I mean... No, I'm sure you did fine too. I still got to listen to the episode, so we'll find out. If this is your first time listening, each episode we interview people that are involved in the blue collar community in some fashion. Maybe they're business owners, maybe they are support staff, maybe they're, or like today when we're working or we're talking with someone that is in an industry that supports the blue collar industry through education, which we've done. We've been really fortunate to have some great guests on, some different organizations talking about how they help to train the next generation of blue-collar workers and business owners. So we're excited to be joined today by Bruce Hoffmann from BOCES. Now, you're Warren, Washington, Saratoga?
Yes.
What's the
Washington,
initials?
Saratoga, Warren, Hamilton, Essex.
That's it. The whooshy. That's it, yeah, the whooshy. So Bruce, tell us a little bit about what you are doing over at BOCES and how BOCES is doing amazing things supporting the blue collar industry. Well, industries, I should say.
What we do is we prepare students for the workforce, right? And now there's a lot more emphasis on the trades and getting people out there. And college is not the number one ruler, right? So we've done a lot of work on that, trying to get people to change their mind and be able to go to work and learn on the job, apprenticeship programs, the works, right? So there's something to be said about being able to go into a career without being in debt to sometimes overwhelming debt, right?
Yeah.
So, we compare what would it take for somebody to go to college for 2 years or 4 years and break that down versus going to work. And even the comparison between the two, you're looking at how much somebody could have made if they weren't going to school, and while somebody is making it. And then even many times when they come out, because there's a lot of post-secondary places that you can go, like just trade schools, there's, certificate type programs, associates, and so forth. But many times they're going to come out and they're going to compete for the same jobs that their friend that they sat next to at BOCES in career and tech, and they're going to be competing for the same jobs at the same rate of pay, at the same starting, entry level workers.
And you bring up an important point too. I mean, it's college. It's not just the cost of tuition; it's the cost of what you could have made were you working full time. So if you're going to go into you leave a BOCES program, you graduate high school, you go into a job that's making $50,000 a year, let's say, right? I think that's a pretty attainable amount of money here in this area anyway. Yep. So that's $50,000 that you wouldn't have been making, plus I don't even know what the cost of tuition these days, but let's just call it another $50,000, right? I mean, that's a $100,000 swing. Yeah. It's a lot of money.
And that's how you have to look at it, so that's the overall picture. And I think a lot of people don't look at it that way, to measure both sides.
Yeah.
So I think, and we have an incredible business community here. We're never at a lack of somebody, some place to help, students go out there and check it out in the real world before leaving school.
Yeah, we are definitely in a great part of the country to live as far as economics, and I don't know if it was this show or another one we were talking about just how insulated we are from so much of what goes on in the country economically. Like when back in the 2008 crash, real estate crash, like our part of the country really didn't see the swings that like say Arizona did.
Sure.
And then even just recently with everything we saw with COVID pandemic and that impact on the economy, like again, we just don't see a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, on the West Coast right now, all of the home values and home prices are dropping like crazy, and it's continued to rise here.
Yeah, and we're still have a huge inventory problem, and prices are continuing to go up. And to your point, the business community just continues to thrive.
Yeah, here they're building. They'd build more if we had if they had more work.
If they had more work, yeah, and that's what we talk to. Obviously, we talk to blue collar business owners all the time, right? And every one of them says the same thing: workforce, workforce, workforce. And that's one of the things that we really try to bring attention to is just if you want to have a great career and make great money, and you don't have to go to college. College isn't a bad thing; it can be a good thing as well. But you don't have to do it and be able to make money in a blue collar industry like
that. Yeah, and that's correct. You can make a great salary, have a great life in the trades. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to get away from that whole stigma, and we are. There's a lot more progress on that than ever before. But parents, everybody's been kind of force fed that college is the only way. And then look, there are professions and careers that require that and need to.
I do prefer that my doctor went to medical school.
Yes, right, exactly. So, but you can learn a lot with hands-on and working with the experts and the journeymen in the field. That's the true hands-on learning. Which is what we do at BOCES. It's hands-on. I think that's the difference between the traditional classroom sit and listen.
The sit and listen. Yeah, we were talking about that before I hit the record button. All the good stuff comes out before you record, right? But we were talking about that where in episode 7 we had Dr. Turina Parker on, and we had a similar conversation. But my daughter I think is a great example where BOCES has so many programs, not just blue collar stuff, right? So you guys, and maybe at some point here in the episode we can talk about them a little more, but she's doing the graphic design program. I feel like maybe it's called visual arts or something like that. But prior to doing that, she did not like school. She was not talking about college. She was not thinking about any of that stuff. And then almost immediately, when she started the BOCES program, she started talking about college and looking at the future and really enjoying what she's doing at school. And you had said it's just a hands-on thing as opposed to the sit and listen.
Sit and listen.
Sit and listen. Yeah.
And I think we hear that a lot from the students come to us. It's a junior and senior year, right? So it's a 2-year program. It's a different style of learning, right? So it's hands-on.
Yeah.
We try to bring the classroom into the working environment, right? And then, so everything, even the academics that we have math and ELA that are pushed into every program. And with that being said, that math and ELA is equated right to that career path, whatever that may be. And then generally in their senior year, students will have an opportunity to go out on internships, and they'll work with industry businesses, and they get to see what the connection is between the classroom and what they're learning there, and then what happens in on the job. Yeah. Right. So it's a great way for people to do it. And when I say working with your hands, those shops are busy, right? They're doing right. It's it's just and also a lot of people say I didn't like school until this, right? Yeah. And then they come to school. So
I know out of my entire education, my favorite classes were wood shop and metal shop, which they don't even teach in schools anymore.
I didn't. Yeah, when I was in high school, we didn't have any of that.
I'm just that old. Is that what you're saying, Derek?
No,
Is this about the whole comment about the show?
Boy, having a rough day.
Man. Yeah, that's good. But
I never got to experience that, and I would have loved it.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. Yeah. Like literally, I remember my teachers. I remember my woodshop teacher, Mr. Wiseman, back up in Plattsburgh. It was just so much fun. We'd go in there, and whether it was being on the wood lathe and making lamps, or we just did all sorts of stuff. And then when we hit metal shop, it was great because they let us make knives and stuff. So it was, it was great. I remember making samurai swords and knives, and then we'd go into the wood shop, and because now we've gone through the wood shop, right? So wood shop was I think 6th grade, and then 7th grade we started doing technical drawing, and then we'd go into metal shop. So we got into metal shop, and literally I remember making, do you know what sais are? That like ninja weapon? It's like a 3-pronged metal thing. Yeah. So I remember like I got to weld. So I was like making these sais, like welding, and then I'd go over and make knives and make swords, and then we'd go into the wood shop and we'd make the handles for the knives and the swords and all this great stuff. And it was awesome. And then like I can't even they would freak out if you tried to make.
Times have changed.
Oh my God, right? Like that's crazy. And then I know as I'm saying it, I'm like, wow, I literally was making all these weapons in school, and now you like, I think you'd get suspended for bringing a pocket knife into school at this point. So, but I was asking my kids same thing. I'm like nothing. They're like, well, we have like our STEM classes, which whatever that stands for, but now they don't do that, man. And it was so much fun. Like, can you imagine being like 11 years old, like throwing on a welding mask and like welding stuff, and it was just so much fun.
Do you still use those skills today?
You know what's funny is for probably the last year, I keep saying that I want to get into welding. Like that's a skill that I really would love to have again. And on the farm, I keep running into instances where like if I had a welder and if I really knew how to weld, I could do some cool stuff, man. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing you said, because any one of our programs, whether you do that as a lifelong career or not, those skills are with you forever.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's a lot of combined, the gray area, right? So it meshes between one program and another, but work ethic and all that kind of stuff plays into that. But any one of those from any program that you learn can stay with you forever, and even becomes a hobby or just something that you're able to fix something for yourself.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about that.
Yeah. Well, I want to make a hay wagon.
There you go.
Right. And I need to do some welding in order to make that happen. So, and it's funny because I actually was thinking about our interview with Dr. Parker and how she was talking about how you guys have adult programs. It's not just high school programs. And I was like, I should look to see if BOCES got a welding program. Maybe I could do that.
Very popular.
Yeah, I bet it is, because welding is cool, and you get to wear a cool ass mask. And those masks now, they got all kinds of graphics. I'll just be a badass dude hanging out in my garage welding stuff. Right.
Make sure the blue collar logo's on it.
That's right. So enough about me, Bruce. So I want to ask you though, and because I think it's important, because this literally just came up the other day in conversation with my kids. And I remember when I was growing up that, quote unquote, the BOCES kids, there was always, and you brought up stigma before, like there's always this negative stigma that's attached to not just blue collar, which we've talked about before, but also just to BOCES in general, because it's non-traditional. And it was always like, if you had to go to BOCES, then you were, a diminished human, you were less than everybody else. And I just, which obviously that's not true. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Like, is that still a thing? Has that changed? Like, have we moved past that? Like,
we have moved past that for the most part, but it's still there, right? Because you still have people who were in school and were part of that.
You still got jerks like me mentioning it on podcasts.
But, our school has done, they remarketed the way career tech, so it's separated out from just the BOCES, right? But there's a place for everybody in this world, so it's all good regardless. So, but the career in tech, I think that whole, I think there's people at the homeschool that wish they were over there, right?
Yeah.
And now it's people aren't being sent there just because they're never going to make it in college,
right?
Or they're not going to, what are they going to do, right? Let's just send them over there and keep our fingers crossed,
right?
No, it's not like that so much anymore. The counselors are starting to get more involved in knowing what goes on over there in CT, what the requirements, what the real rigor is for programs, technical manuals. There's just so much more to it. So these kids are coming over and appreciating being there. It's maybe the first time that they really got a choice in what class they're going to take.
Yeah.
And that's going to last hopefully for the 2 years for them. So.
Yeah. Like I said, I know it had a profound impact on my daughter and her view of learning in school. So it's super grateful for that. And I know that recently too, so it's funny, Derek, I didn't make the connection until like maybe an hour before you guys showed up, but I'm sitting there and Brad was like, yeah, I saw Bruce Hoffmann's coming in from BOCES. And he's like, was that because of when he brought the intern in? And I was like, what? He's like, Bruce had, and then I was like, oh my God, that's right. Bruce had brought one of his interns in here for a day, and they sat with some of our team downstairs and did some stuff.
I forgot about that.
I did too.
And that was one of those. It was a student from our programs, and he wanted to check out marketing and see what that's all about.
Well, I'm sure now that he's seen our operation, he's like, keep me away from marketing, right?
But,
who wants to do that for a living?
He went to 3 different businesses.
Oh,
and,
cool.
Got other people's, and take on all
That's
of that.
great.
Yeah, no, that's a great.
So, and, but that's what I do on the placement coordinator. There's now 2 of us at each of our centers because we have another campus up in Hudson Falls. So, but we put kids out in internships, and with the need in the community now in trades and actually all our programs over there. But we're welcomed. Those kids the students are welcome to come into their place and see what it is. They get the network. Many of them are getting even paid internships. Because once they find somebody, it's more than just their skills. It's how do they are they going to be a good fit with our team? How do they communicate? Or what's their work ethic? Are they coming in here and want to be here? They're willing to learn, willing to do all that kind of good stuff. So that's the whole person that we're looking at. And once they find it, they don't want that person to go because they don't want them to walk away. And students today, I think everything is like, immediate, right?
Yeah.
So
instant gratification.
Right. So when you find somebody, hang on to them, and it's a good way to find new employees.
Go ahead, Derek.
One question that I've been wanting to ask, Bruce, does the majority of your students, do they go directly into a career, or do some of them move on to like a Hudson Valley or another program for 2 years?
That's a real good question. And I'm thinking where more students are going directly into the field, into work. And they're green. They're still high school kids. They're leaving at 18 and walking in. But many of them already have had internships, so they know where they're going. They're getting that. We have signing day for the students who get jobs prior to leaving. So when they graduate, they're walking right into a full-time job. We do have some that still want to do that college thing, and like I said, there's some things that it's suited for, right? That they need to be doing that, but we're giving them a choice, right? They're going to go in, and we talked before about the money and how you figure that out, right? And there's certificate programs and there are other trade schools, and then of course the traditional college for a degree, and even some of them are changing to just have like certificate. You can go there for 1 year and earn a certificate. If it's going to be welding, you're going to focus on welding. All that other academic stuff is not going to be part of their time there. But in all honesty, those students leaving some of these programs are going to be competing a year or so later. They're going to be competing with the kid they sat next to for the same jobs, same entry level, same rate of pay many times, right? If you left, somebody went to school for college for a year or two, what they're making versus what they could have been making while somebody else went right to work, making so much money a year, and they're not even paying the tuition for them to go.
Right.
So there's a big difference there. I think we talked about that before. So, long story short, I think a lot of our students are going right in the field and seeing
right into the workforce.
So,
That's good. The workforce needs them.
That's absolutely.
So any parents or kids who are considering the BOCES program, I mean, how did they start the process and what does that look like? I know, Mike, you've been through it. But for all listeners, what does that look like and how would they get started?
Well, it all starts at the homeschool, right? So, and we do, the counselors all work out. A homeschool can come with so many, with kids from whatever grade. And they come in and they do a tour. And then, there's different kind of tours for different programs, for different schools, depending on what they need and want. But really, the students come over and they see what it's all about. Then they go back and the counselors talk to them, and it helps them make a better informed decision on what they want to do and what program they want to be in. Then they just have to do the application for that student, and they send it over to our schools, and they, and there is a lottery, which is, I guess, good and bad.
Right.
Because if you don't get the lottery, right, then you have to go on to your second choice, But, our programs, for the most part, are full. But, once they're in for the 2 years, essentially. But, when I talk about the second choice, it's many times students get into their second choice. And then when they get the option, a few weeks to leave because some things move around, and they're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So just the idea of being over there, like I said, there's some overlap in some. You can go into construction and be in construction, heavy equipment, welding, HVAC, right? So they're also connected in many ways. So you're not going to lose, however it works.
And do you have like a list of employers or companies that basically recruit out of you for seniors coming out of high school and coming out of your BOCES program?
We do. We work over the years probably with 500 different businesses.
Wow.
Out of both campuses, right? So, but each year we probably work closely with about 200 to 225 businesses that we place the students throughout the year. And obviously, if it's construction, we're looking at the builders, the local builders.
Yep.
And we have a really, really good rapport with them. So, one hand washes the other, so it helps all the way around. We get to put the students out there, and they get to learn out in the field, and they get to, to kind of handpick students that have worked out and that they could see being part of their team.
So you said 225 kids a year, roughly speaking?
We probably do that at each center because we have multiple students going to a site.
Gotcha.
We can.
Now, is that all programs, or is that just your like blue collar stuff, like builders, like construction, welding?
Every program, the students have the opportunity to go out in their senior year. So it doesn't matter if it's cosmetology or, there's horticulture programs, there's all kinds of things. And with that, there's also, you can look at what else is connected to that program. If maybe they're an automotive and a student, 2 years, they just don't really see themselves turning wrenches for the rest of their life. What else is there? There's parts departments, there's all kinds of things. So we move them around many times within these businesses so that they can kind of really get to see a little bit of hands-on what it is. And sometimes they wouldn't have had that opportunity just within the walls of our programs because there's only so much you can do. Yeah. Right. So, but when they're out there in the real world, they get to experience different areas within that.
I just think that's so important, like trying to show these kids what life is actually going to be like and, kind of actually getting them ready for the real world rather than tricking them into thinking that, I don't want to put my tinfoil hat on. But, I just feel like so much about our education system right now is not setting kids up for success. We're not showing them what the real world looks like. We're showing them what we'd like it to look like. And it's just, and then they get out of school and they're like, oh, shit. Right. And so it just sounds like with what you're doing is you're literally like, no, we're going to put you into the real world scenario so you can see and then, buckle up.
We do we do follow up with the students as best we can. We go out and we check, see how they're doing out in the field. I mean, you talk about rewarding. Every kid who's coming to school and loving just the hands-on learning that they're getting. Then they get to go out on an internship and working with people that are experts in the field. That are, doing whatever it is that they're doing, and they love that, right? The biggest, and then if it turns into a paid internship, lucky you get paid to go to school, and how rewarding is it not only for the student, but I think for the parents, that they know that they're going to walk into a job as soon as the graduate school is over. Someplace that they've been and they're used to, and they're accepted, and it's just good.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing system. And I'm wondering, with regards to, what's the best way to put it? Well, I guess so. These kids are leaving your program, right? They're graduating high school. They're going out into the real world. They have these skills. It sounds like such a great system. But there's no perfect system, right? So where are the shortfalls or the gaps, or where's the, from a BOCES standpoint, like where's the deficits that BOCES needs help in it to help these kids? Like, what are we missing or not doing better, or what do we need to do better?
I think we have it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we're doing is working. There's just how it's funded, perhaps, is another thing. Mm-hmm. And I think what's going on now is we're going to run out of room, right? So that's one thing that I think about a lot. So how can we move some of our programs off into a separate campus or separate mm-hmm. buildings? Our campuses are old, so how do we have to get funded by every district that's to sign off on it for us to do something. And sometimes that's that, but we're our districts really
you're in a good
appreciate.
area.
So it's hard to say, but I think the next step would be really to, because our technology is there, mm-hmm. They constantly buying new equipment, making sure that the stuff that they're going to be working with, this is stuff that the businesses rely on, right? So they have to know how to do that, but they also have to know some of the other older equipment to how it works and how to prepare, because not every business is going to be, going to be able to do that every year. But still, we have the equipment that we need. So is it just the building? We can work around some of those, but when does that time come where it's like,
we need more space.
We need more space, or
I think we need a bigger boat.
Upgrade facilities, right?
Yeah,
that would be that's probably one of my biggest.
What about funding for the adult programs? How does that work? Tell us a little bit more about that, because not only am I going to take the welding class, but I just wonder, is it self-funded? I want to go take a welding class. There's a tuition. I'm going to pay that, and I go do it.
Well, I'm not truly aware of everything that goes on in the adult program. We try to help each other with the places and the businesses we deal with. A lot of these people they're already in industry, and they're not, mm-hmm. They're in a job that they don't want, or maybe it's a job that they're in and they could upgrade into a better position with that company. So sometimes they're funded by that company. Sometimes it's funded on their own, and sometimes there's money and grant money through some like the counties and stuff.
Okay.
So there's different revenue streams for that, but you'd have to probably talk to the adult learning person, which I'm sure she'd love to come.
All right, yeah, she's coming in soon then. she doesn't know it yet. We don't know her name, but it's actually this is actually a perfect spot for us to talk about Michael's group real quick, and just a quick shout out to Luke and his team over there. They recently became a sponsor of Blue Collar Startup, and we're super grateful and appreciative of those guys and supporting us and our mission. And one of the things that we're doing with our sponsors is they come in and they give us money. It's not so that Derek can drive a Mercedes. It's one of our plans is to take some of that money and to be able to fund programs like the Adult BOCES program to help get people grants or scholarships and help them deal with tuition and stuff like that. So just a big shout out to Luke and to Michael's group, and thanks a lot, guys, for sponsoring us. So I wanted to make sure that I brought them up.
Yeah, I gave them a shout. And
Terry's. If I listened, I would know that. It's on my list.
It's only been a couple of days. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's my defense.
You talk about how businesses help. we have a lot of help. All we have to do is make a phone call.
Yeah.
And our business community is right there for us.
Yeah.
Right. We in next week or the week after, we're going to be doing tool bags, the Carhartt tool bags that are paid for by the contractors in Saratoga.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's neat.
So every graduate, not every student, it's within their construction field. So those four programs, they'll get them. We're always looking for ways, because these kids go out into the field and they don't have the tools yet. So we're talking about things for automotive and how that can work, because many places you go in, you need your own tools, right? They have some house tools that people, but the expectation is they're going to do them, and all of that stuff is not cheap.
Yeah.
So we have people who look at that and say, we get an intern, we get somebody in here that follows through. We'll help them. We're gonna make sure that they have the tools they need. So the business community is here for us, and we're here for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And I know that we'd like to talk more about that too. It's definitely obviously we're our main part of our mission is empowering and educating the next generation of blue collar business owners and blue collar preneurs, as we're calling them. But so yeah, we definitely want to be able to make sure we're helping any way that we can too.
So I got a quick question. And has your daughter graduated, Mike?
June 24th is her graduation, and she has a separate ceremony from graduating from BOCES.
Correct.
So that was going to be my question. What does that look like for a senior or somebody that's about to
I haven't seen
graduate?
it yet, so I don't know what it looks like, but I'm sure Bruce can.
The Saratoga campus holds their ceremony at the city center. Okay, and up at our Hudson Falls, they use the arena up there. So those and they have a lot of kids sitting in the audience, and we'll have a guest speaker, student speaker, and when we read off their name, they come up and get their diploma, and they move on, and then they get their they're all in their homeschool colors, their gowns. So it's kind of like a rainbow out there of different colors, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then they and like a couple of weeks later, a week or so later, they'll be doing their homeschool graduation.
Okay.
So,
And, it's funny, you keep saying homeschool, and the first couple of times you said it, I was like, homeschool. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They work with homeschool programs. And then I realized that you're actually talking about
the district.
Their district school, yeah. But so that raises the question, like, do you work? Because I know homeschooling is
becoming more prominent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like big percentage points. And so do you work with homeschool programs? Like, is that an option for them to be able to send their homeschool kids to BOCES?
Those are district decisions, I believe.
Gotcha.
Because they have to pay, there is something that needs to be paid, because there's a tuition to come to CTE. So that I think is just a homeschool decision on how that's going to go.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that.
So I guess, with the students, because I guess our ultimate goal here is to get, the show in front of the students. I guess what are your thoughts on the best way to reach them? Would it be through the teachers or through the individual schools themselves?
For doing this, for listening to this?
For listening and just growing the audience for some of the, especially like the seniors and things like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, because I was wondering how, where you get your audience and how you're doing that. And I think that maybe those QR codes and stuff that you can maybe put up, and we can put those things in the hallways. So I think that they need to be listening to this, and maybe even have a podcast with students. Yeah. Let them speak for themselves, right? Because they too are our customers.
Yeah, we'd love to get a couple of kids in here and have them talk about the program and kind of things they've been learning. And moreover, I'd love to get their perspective on, from a couple of seniors on, they're looking at graduating and making the decision of going to college or going into a blue collar career based on what they were able to learn at BOCES. Like, I think that would be very informative. It's a great idea.
Yeah, so we can help with that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Do that.
And we won't swear on that episode. Or we'll bleep it if we do.
Okay.
We'll keep it PG-13, PG-18. So what other kinds of attention or help or what's the word I'm looking for? Attention, help. Like what other kinds of we just want to help amplify your voice, right? So what other kind of aid can we offer there?
Like I said before, I really think that we have this down. We have the support of, I know politics is something that's difficult to bring up in a lot of ways, but we have people who are very supportive, even on both sides, right?
Yeah.
So, which is good, and it's all about the health of the community, and that is all. The gauge on that is the health of the businesses, right? That are doing that. So we are just part of the continuum of all of this, and I think. There's no one thing that I can really just pull out right now. I just need that, to know that the funding is still going to be there. That's the whole thing. School districts are paying, and these tuitions are that it's not cheap to bring a student through BOCES. So,
No, I bet not.
but at the same time, how many are we gonna, how many can we handle at the same time? So but I just think at some point, like I said before, that we're gonna be needing to either upgrade into things, and that would be the thing. But there's money that can come from from that vast ocean of taxes.
Okay.
So if a small business or somebody in the blue collar industry who is looking to hire or looking to find staff, how do they get involved with BOCES? What's the process?
It's just a phone call. We have a website. They can find out who to go to, whether it's the superintendent or counselors or work-based learning coordinators, principals, and then we can hook them up. Many people just call and say, "Listen, I'm looking for workers. Do you have people that are graduating?" Normally, when we get those phone calls, they're like the 50th phone call.
Oh,
right?
gotcha.
So everybody's looking. We have more need than we have students. So that's a huge thing. But hook up, and then our next step hopefully is to do an internship so we can partner with that business, get the students out there, and that's how we just start to grow from there. They get a student or two, or more, depending on who they are and what they can handle, and then they get to I kind of call it try before you buy.
Yeah, that's nice. So you told us how business owners can get a hold of you and forge that relationship, which, again, I think business owners are crazy not to, right?
Yeah.
Especially blue collar guys and girls. Like, if you're looking for a workforce, which I know it's such a huge problem locally. I'm sure it is nationally, being able to find people to work in the trades. Although I do feel like it is rising in popularity. I still can't understand. It boggles my mind, the workforce problem that we're having nationwide, and where are all the workers? Where are all the people? Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy to me, but
I think and again, I think by doing this, and I think if more people understood what it was actually like to go through trade school and learn what it was about and what the daily routine was, more people would consider it. And actually, that was going to be my next question.
Oh, you've got one. Oh, that's good.
I was going to segue into it. So I'd like to ask Bruce, what's a typical day look like for a student in school? How does it compare to a normal high school?
They go to their high schools and they start there.
Okay.
And then they get bussed over to our centers, right? And then they come in and it's 2.5 hours in the morning, and then another group comes in 2.5 hours in the afternoon. So they're only there for a half day for the 2 years. And in that, they may have anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes of kind of lecture, what we're going to go over, what we're going to be doing in the shop. And then they go and they start cutting, turning wrenches, or whatever it is that they need to do. So that's basically what a student will be. I'm sure the day is over before they're ready, because that's what would be happening to me.
yeah.
And then they do have ELA and math that is pushed in. So we have a separate teacher that comes in and works with the program teacher, and they do related math or related to ELA. Then we start with resumes and letters and that kind of stuff, so that they can do that. We do fill out applications. We also have students practice interviews, all those other things that are important, that are really related to any job, any field, anyone.
I think that related part is huge, right?
Yeah.
My son, he's 15. Well, he's about to be 15. He's finishing up his freshman year in high school. And he's just like, why do I need to learn trigonometry? Mm-hmm. And because the sit and listen curriculum's not making that connection. Like they're not showing they're giving knowledge, but no application for that knowledge. And like, my son's a smart kid, but like he just kind of doesn't see the point to a lot of what he's learning. And I think making that connection is huge.
I can't even imagine how many times I said that when I was in school.
Yeah.
Right? Why do I need to know this?
Yeah.
And so here, it really is applied to what you're doing.
That's awesome.
The light bulb goes off.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing, the difference between our schools, right? The homeschools can't necessarily do that all the time, but we're a co-op, and that's why we do what we do, and they do what they do. It's amazing how many, even reading a ruler, right? So kids coming in and they're like, okay, that line after the long line.
The little line, right? The second little line.
And then you think, all right, you know what? In truth, that they learned it, but they forgot it because they never used it.
Right.
Right. So, but these are constant, right? That these are all very basic, and they're used right on up till the day they walk out of there. But then they're using it on the job. So
it's interesting too. My daughter really loved BOCES because her mom would pick her up from BOCES and bring her to school. I guess that was an option. So they'd hit like Dunkin' Donuts on the way. Yeah. Like she,
Nice.
I was like, wow, really getting the chair? I'm like, your mom's way nicer than I would make you ride the bus. But hey, what are you gonna do?
You mentioned, even women, right? Mm-hmm. Women in the trades, and that's a big initiative that our BOCES has done. Just trying to figure out 52% of the population, and women, and we're for so long we were missing out on that because traditionally, right, girls were going to cosmetology, the boys were going to welding, right? So, and we're really trying to get people to think out, on the other side. The boys don't own these programs. They don't own these jobs, right? And the girls can do them just as well as anybody, as any boy in there, right? And we work with the, we have mentioned, some of our business partners before. We work closely with them on trying to do that and attract more, girls into the non-traditional courses for them.
That's great.
Career jobs.
Need it. I mean, most of the women in my life are way smarter than I am, so they would definitely do all of those things way better than I would. And my jokes keep throwing me off. I'm joking myself out of an interview right now. So they're not even that funny. But so if people want to get a hold of you, they want to find BOCES, whether they're an employer or they're a student or whatever. Like, how do they do that? Where do they find you guys?
They can find us at WSWHE BOCES.org, the website, and it's a easy website to maneuver around, and you can find what you're going to need there. Whether CTE programs, they list the programs, syllabus, and information on each program, information on the teachers. And phone numbers listed for the contact people. So it's very easy.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Very cool. Bruce, we really appreciate you coming in today, man.
Absolutely.
It's great.
This is great. I think we can. I think this is a good idea.
Oh, thank you.
So let's just figure out how we can get the kids to see this and the students to see this and pass it on to others.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And we can do that.
Perfect. Well, thanks again. Thanks for coming in. Thank you for listening. And of course, I want to make sure we bring up the fact that we've got the Blue Collar Blueprint on the website. If you guys go check it out, that's additional content. It's free. Just sign up for an account, register for an account. You get in there and you can see videos and listen to other blue collar business owners and support companies, whether it's the guys from Metabolic Fitness talking about how to keep a healthy lifestyle, or we've got people like Derek talking about how he grew his company and doing all the great things that he does. So check it out, register for an account, and
drop us some questions.
Some questions. Yeah,
I don't think we've really
We need to start leveraging that more for sure.
Drop questions for the guests and we'll ask them on the show.
Yeah, please do. If there's something specific that you want to know from someone, just send us an email at hardhat@bluecollarstartup.io. That's hardhat@bluecollarstartup.io. Or I believe we also have a thing on the website. You can sign up for our newsletter. And then, or if you're watching us on YouTube or Rumble, just drop a comment on one of the videos, drop a question, and we'll do our best to get back to you on that. And then, and one more time, I just want to say again, thanks to Michael's group for helping with the sponsorship and jumping on board to support the mission. So thanks everybody for listening. Derek?
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Bruce? Thank you.
Appreciate it, Bruce.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Great.